This is verbatim federal courtroom testimony when Wendy Williams entered the courtroom at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan U.S. Courthouse in New York City, sent shockwaves through the legal proceedings against Sean Diddy Combs. The air crackled with anticipation as the former talk show host, known for her unfiltered commentary and larger-than-life persona, took the stand in a trial that had already gripped the nation. Diddy faced charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution, allegations that painted him as the orchestrator of a criminal empire steeped in coercion and abuse. But what transpired during Wendy's testimony would turn the case on its head, exposing a web of complicity among some of the biggest names in entertainment, and revealing her own harrowing ordeal at the hands of Diddy and his associates. The clerk's voice rang out first. "Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?" Wendy's response came with a hint of her signature flair. "I do, honey. I'm here to spill the tea, legally speaking." The judge, Honorable Elizabeth Carter, interjected sharply. "Ms. Williams, please refrain from colloquialisms and address your answers to counsel." Wendy adjusted her tone, a touch of sass still lingering. "My apologies, Your Honor. I'll keep it professional." Assistant U.S. Attorney Sarah Nguyen, leading the prosecution, began her questioning with a calm but pointed tone. "Ms. Williams, can you confirm whether you've had professional or social interactions with the defendant, Mr. Sean Combs?" Wendy's response was immediate, her words carrying the weight of years in the industry. "Oh, absolutely. I've crossed paths with Mr. Combs plenty of times. Industry parties, award shows, you name it. Back in the early 2000s, you couldn't go to a major event in New York or L.A. without seeing him holding court, surrounded by his entourage." Nguyen pressed further, her voice measured. "Can you describe a specific event where you observed the defendant's behavior that's relevant to this case?" Wendy leaned into her answer, her tone growing more intense. "Sure thing. Let's talk about the 2008 after-party for the BET Awards in Los Angeles. I was there covering it for my radio show at the time. It was at a private mansion, one of those over-the-top spots. Mr. Combs was there, and let me tell you, he was running the show like he owned the place." Mark Reynolds, Diddy's defense attorney, jumped in with an objection. "Objection, Your Honor. Relevance. The witness's characterization of running the show is vague and doesn't tie to the charges." Nguyen countered quickly. "Your Honor, the testimony will establish a pattern of behavior relevant to the racketeering and coercion allegations. We're laying the foundation." Judge Carter's ruling was firm. "Overruled. Ms. Williams, please be specific about what you observed." Wendy nodded, her voice steady as she continued. "Thank you, Judge. At this party, I saw Mr. Combs orchestrating what I'd call exclusive side rooms. He'd pull certain people, mostly young women, some barely looked 21, into these private areas off the main party. There were security guys at the doors, and nobody got in without his say-so. I overheard him telling one of his assistants to make sure everything's ready, and to keep it discreet. I didn't go in those rooms. Wendy don't play like that. But the vibe was off. People were whispering about what was happening in there." Nguyen's tone remained focused. "Ms. Williams, did you observe any specific interactions between the defendant and these individuals?" Wendy's voice grew somber as she recalled the moment. "Yes, ma'am. I saw him with one young lady. She looked nervous, like she didn't want to be there. He had his arm around her, talking real close, and she kept looking at the floor. Later, I saw her leave one of those rooms, and she was crying. I tried to ask her if she was okay, but one of his guys swooped in and ushered her out. I thought, something ain't right here." Reynolds objected again, his tone sharp. "Objection! Hearsay and speculation. The witness is assuming the emotional state of an unidentified person and implying misconduct without evidence. Nguyen responded swiftly, "Your Honor, Ms. Williams is testifying to her direct observations, not hearsay. Her perception of the individual's demeanor is relevant to the environment the defendant created." Judge Carter ruled with precision. Sustained in part. The witness may describe what she saw, but refrain from speculating about the individual's feelings or what occurred in private rooms unless you personally witnessed it, Ms. Williams. Wendy adjusted her approach, her voice steady. "Got it, Your Honor. I'll stick to what I saw. That girl left in a hurry, and Mr. Combs didn't look fazed. He was back to laughing and popping bottles like nothing happened." Nguyen shifted her line of questioning, her tone probing. "Ms. Williams, did you ever discuss these observations with others in the industry, or hear others discuss the defendant's behavior?" Wendy's response was laced with intensity, her words carrying the weight of years of insider knowledge. "Yes, Ms. Nguyen. I've been in this game a long time, and people talk. I heard plenty about Mr. Combs over the years, and I saw things myself. In fact, at that same party, I saw some big names who were right there with him, and they didn't seem fazed by what was going on." Nguyen's voice sharpened slightly, sensing a pivotal moment. "Can you be more specific, Ms. Williams? Who did you see, and what were they doing?" Wendy's tone became deliberate as she held up a piece of paper, her voice steady but charged with emotion. "Well, let's start with Jay-Z. He was there, sipping champagne, laughing with Mr. Combs while those side rooms were in full swing. I saw him go into one of those rooms with Mr. Combs for a few minutes, and when they came out, they were whispering and smirking like they'd just closed a deal. Then there was Usher. He was younger back then, but he was hanging around Mr. Combs like a shadow. I saw him talking to one of those girls who looked uncomfortable, and he didn't do anything to help her. He just walked away. And Justin Bieber, poor baby Justin, he was just a kid when I saw him at another event with Mr. Combs in 2010. Mr. Combs had him under his wing, and I overheard Mr. Combs say to Justin, 'Stick with me. I'll show you how this game works.' I didn't like the sound of that one bit. The courtroom buzzed with tension, the weight of Wendy's words hanging in the air. Diddy's reaction was audible as he whispered to his attorney, his voice strained. "She's lying!" Reynolds stood quickly, his objection forceful. "Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, speculation, and relevance. The witness is making unsubstantiated claims about individuals not on trial here, and her statements are prejudicial." Nguyen countered with equal force. "Your Honor, this testimony is relevant to establishing the defendant's pattern of behavior and the environment he created, which involved prominent figures in the industry. It goes to the racketeering charge by showing the scope of his influence." Judge Carter's ruling was measured. "I'll allow it, but Ms. Williams, you will limit your testimony to what you directly observed or heard, not what you assume or speculate. Proceed, Ms. Nguyen." Nguyen nodded, her tone steady as she continued. "Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Williams, to be clear, you're saying you saw Jay-Z, Usher, and Justin Bieber at events where the defendant was engaging in questionable activities?" Wendy's voice was firm, her words cutting through the tension. "That's exactly what I'm saying. I wrote down what I saw back then because I knew one day this might come up. I've got names, dates, everything. These men were part of Mr. Combs's world, and they saw what I saw. They knew what was going on in those rooms, and they didn't stop it." Nguyen pressed further, her voice sharp. "Ms. Williams, you've named these individuals as being present. Can you clarify why you believe they were involved?" Wendy's tone grew more intense, her voice trembling with conviction. These men aren't just witnesses. They were part of it. They knew about the freak-offs, the coercion, all of it. They were there, benefiting from it, enjoying the power Mr. Combs had over everyone. And now? They're testifying against him to get a clean chit, to save themselves. But they're just as guilty. They stayed silent, because they were in on it too. The courtroom fell silent, the gravity of Wendy's accusations sinking in. Diddy's attorneys exchanged hurried whispers, while the jury sat riveted, their eyes locked on Wendy. Guyon's voice softened slightly, sensing the emotional weight of what was to come. Ms. Williams, you mentioned you wrote down what you saw. Can you tell the court more about your own experiences with the defendant that relate to these events? Wendy paused, her voice breaking as she began to speak, her words heavy with pain. I was invited to one of his parties in 2011 in Miami. I thought it was just another industry event, music, drinks, networking, but it turned into one of those freak-offs. I saw things I'll never unsee. Women I didn't know, being abused, physically assaulted, forced into things they didn't want to do. I was horrified. And when they realized I saw it all, they turned on me. The courtroom's silence was deafening, the weight of Wendy's words settling over everyone. Cassie Ventura, seated in the gallery after her own testimony earlier in the trial, let out a soft sob, her hands covering her face as tears streamed down her cheeks. Wendy's voice cracked as she continued, her emotions spilling over. They dragged me into a room, Mr. Combs and his people. They assaulted me, hit me, told me I'd better keep my mouth shut. They said if I ever spoke, they'd kill me. You did this to me. You did this to so many women. Wendy's sobs echoed through the courtroom as she pointed at Diddy, her voice raw with anguish. I've carried this for years, too scared to speak. But I'm here now, and I'm telling the truth. What happened to me happened to others, Cassie too. Everything Cassie Ventura has said in this trial is true. I saw it. I lived it. Those freak-offs were real, and they were hell for so many women. Cassie's cries grew louder, her shoulders shaking as Wendy's words validated her own testimony. The jury sat stunned, some visibly emotional, while Diddy's face remained unreadable, his hands clenched tightly in front of him. Wendy's voice rose, her tears falling freely as she addressed the court. And it's not just Mr. Combs. His whole gang, Jay-Z, Usher, Justin Bieber, they're all involved. They knew what was happening, and they didn't stop it. They're testifying against him now to save themselves, but they were part of it. They benefited from it. And they're still out there, free, while women like me and Cassie and so many others live with the scars. I'm begging this court, bring them in. Put them on trial, too. They can't get away with this. Judge Carter's voice cut through the emotional chaos, her tone firm but compassionate. Ms. Williams, I understand this is difficult. Do you need a moment? Wendy shook her head, wiping her tears with a trembling hand. No, Your Honor. I've waited too long to say this. I need to finish. Guyon stepped forward, her voice gentle but resolute. Ms. Williams, thank you for your courage. Do you have any additional evidence to support your claims? Wendy held up the document, her voice steady despite her tears. This list. It's every name I saw at those parties, every person I heard talking about the freak-offs. It's dates, places, everything I could remember. And yes, Jay-Z, Usher, and Justin Bieber are on here. They were there. They knew. And some of them hurt me too to keep me quiet. The courtroom erupted in murmurs, the weight of Wendy's testimony sending shock waves through the proceedings. Diddy's attorneys scrambled to respond, while the prosecutor took the document from Wendy, her expression one of grim determination. Reynolds stood, his objection desperate. "Objection, Your Honor! This is prejudicial and unsubstantiated. The witness is making sweeping allegations without corroboration, and this document hasn't been properly authenticated." Nguyen countered swiftly. "Your Honor, the document will be submitted as evidence, and its authenticity can be verified. Ms. Williams's testimony is a first-hand account, and her allegations are directly relevant to the racketeering charge, showing a pattern of coordinated criminal activity." Judge Carter nodded, her voice calm but authoritative. "The objection is overruled. The document will be admitted, pending verification. Ms. Williams, you may step down for now. We'll take a brief recess." As Wendy stepped down, her testimony concluded, the courtroom remained in a state of stunned silence, the impact of her words reverberating through the space. The trial day ended with the prosecution team moving quickly to record Wendy's statement in detail, ensuring every name on her list, Jay-Z, Usher, Justin Bieber, and others, was documented for further investigation. Nguyen sat with Wendy in a private room after the session, her voice steady as she spoke. "Ms. Williams, we'll need to go through this list, name by name. Are you prepared to provide specific details about each individual's involvement?" Wendy's voice was hoarse but resolute. "Yes, Ms. Nguyen. I've got everything written down. Dates, places, what I saw, what they did to me. I'll tell you everything." Nguyen nodded, her tone reassuring. "We'll also need to discuss your own experience in more detail. The assault, the threats. This could lead to additional charges, not just against Mr. Combs, but others as well." Wendy's response was firm, her resolve unshaken. "I'm ready. I've been silent too long. They need to be held accountable. All of them." Meanwhile, inner-city press reporters gathered outside the courthouse, their reports capturing the bombshell moment that had unfolded. One journalist's voice was urgent as she spoke into her microphone. "This is a turning point in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Wendy Williams's testimony today has blown the case wide open, naming major industry figures like Jay-Z, Usher, and Justin Bieber as not just witnesses, but active participants in the alleged freak-offs and abuses. Her emotional account of her own assault at the hands of Combs and his associates, along with her concrete evidence, a detailed list of names and events, has left the prosecution with a wealth of new leads to pursue. Another reporter chimed in, his tone grim. "Wendy Williams's testimony paints a damning picture of a culture of complicity in the entertainment industry. Her allegations that these men are testifying against Combs to secure immunity for their own involvement could lead to a broader investigation. And with the concrete evidence she's provided, Diddy's future in this trial looks dark. Very dark." As the reports spread, the public reaction was swift, with social media buzzing about the revelations. Wendy's testimony had not only validated Cassie Ventura's claims, but had also exposed a network of alleged perpetrators who had yet to face justice. The trial day may have ended, but the fallout from Wendy Williams's words was just beginning, promising to reshape the case and the industry forever.